There are individuals out there who are highly skilled. They're putting those skills to developing tools and solutions to aid and abet criminality behaviour online. They unfortunately are located in jurisdictions that does not make it easy to pursue, prosecute and convict those individuals. So in a way they're operating within free rein. So if we can't reach out to them to catch them to put them in jail, well then we have to develop other ways to tackle the problem. Part of that is prevention. Obviously, as those of us who are responsible for protecting corporate networks, we have to secure them in a way to make it more difficult for the attacks to happen. And yes, every year we look at the Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report, all the various reports about the major breaches, and it's down to simple problems, lack of patches, lack of antivirus software, poor security awareness training, lack of monitoring, that we're not responding to incidents. So if we're not doing the basics, we're actually making it easier for the criminals to do their job. Detecting an attack or criminality is the other thing. And so obviously law enforcement are looking at their ways of monitoring the dark web and criminal activities to try and gather intelligence against those individuals. But we should also be monitoring our own individual systems for suspicious activity, be that from the internal threat or external threat, so that we can respond and engage with law enforcement as well. And then there's disruption. And so if we can't, one way is to make it more expensive for these people to operate. And you do that by disrupting their botnets, disrupting their infrastructure, and that's both the technical infrastructure and their people infrastructure. If you're putting the low-end money mules, arresting them, putting them out of business, if you're taking down the botnets, if you're disrupting, their criminal infrastructure, it's going to cost them time and money to rebuild it again. They're going to lose income while their botnets are down. The next phase then is to put them in jail. And that's up to the politicians and law enforcement to work internationally to get like-minded nations who are willing to work to coin a phrase, a coalition of the willing, to try and bring these people to justice. And that could be simply if that person goes into a jurisdiction that we can nab them. One of the single most unsolved problems we have in security is the human element. And that ranges from security awareness training to the individuals as to how staff and people should behave securely online and how they should not fall for phishing emails or social engineering attacks or how to behave sensibly online. But the human element also from ourselves, in that from a technical point of view that we understand the tools and are trained in the tools and how to use those tools properly. Like out on the floor there are lots of fantastic solutions, but if they're just deployed and not used properly, well then you may as well not deploy them at all. So the lack of training, lack of understanding, and a lack of communication. I think that's, we as an information security industry are very poor at communicating outside of this industry, even inside the industry, what's going on. Like we're very poor at communicating clearly amongst ourselves as to what the issues and the challenges are, and we find it even more difficult to communicate with the business, with the public, and even coming back to the panel we're on with law enforcement as to what the issues are, and clearly state what it is we're trying to get. 20 years ago, I was working for a large insurance company in Ireland, managing and securing their networks. That was an interesting challenge. Back then we were using Windows NT, and Windows Workgroups was the main stations there. And do you know what? The challenges are still the same. We still have the same problems. We're still not patching in time. We're still not having up-to-date antivirus softwares. We're still not monitoring our systems properly, and the human element is still causing us lots of problems. Back then, the human element was causing us issues, and so in 20 years, the technology has changed. It's jumped in leaps and bounds, but the challenges have stayed the same. We're still getting the basics wrong.